Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into the Red, White, and Ruthless show on the Nickel City Mafia YouTube channel, where our family business is football. As of right now, I'm solo today. For those who haven't heard, I'm going to throw his business out there. My co-host and member of this channel, Brett, got into a little accident and is going to be out of commission for a couple weeks. He's absolutely fine. He's resting at home. Well, he's not, you know what I mean? He's home resting. He'll be recovering, and he's being strong. He's getting better each day, but he'll be listening tonight and probably commenting. But he'll be back on the show maybe in a couple weeks. Hopefully, here he is. It's not gonna be the same without you, but he's doing good. Glad to hear he's fine and he's resting, being good. But kind of brief show today again because I don't have my co-host with me, and I had jobs since 9 this morning till about 7:30 tonight, so I'm whooped. So I thought maybe we talk about some of the free agent signings, maybe a couple things around the NFL, and we'll go from there. And maybe a special guest might pop in. Don't know about that yet. But thank you guys all again for tuning in. And Brett says he's okay. Love you all. Thank you, Brett. So hit that like button as soon as you come in the building. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. Drop a nickel on that sub, as we like to say over here at Nickel City Mafia. Let's get into it. All right. So we're going to start with a guy who I'm pretty happy we brought back, Ty Johnson, running back. I think he's a good change of pace back for a guy like James Cook. Ty Johnson could do it all. He's good at catching the ball out of the backfield. He can pass block decently. Good at running the football as well, and he can play special teams. So he might be a kick returner if a guy like KJ Hamler, Andy Isabella get cut, which is very possible considering one of the moves we just made. But I still want to get another running back. I don't know. I mean, we got 11 draft picks, so I could see us drafting another one and maybe picking one up that's an undrafted free agent. And maybe even bring Christian Wade back. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, Ty Johnson. How do you guys feel about Ty Johnson? I think it's a good move. Again, on the cheap, and he could produce. And I thought, for the little bit of few games he played for us, I thought he did a pretty damn good job in that department. Again, he didn't really return much, a lot of fair catches, but still, we got a guy that can do it. So pretty happy about that. And another guy where I'm kind of just like, Mitch Trubisky. Bringing Mitch Trubisky back after he had kind of a bad situation with Pittsburgh. He might have thought he was playing for a starting job, didn't quite get it. And then when he did play, didn't really work out too well for him. Whether it was Matt Canada's offensive coordinator or not, didn't quite matter for him over there in Pittsburgh. I mean, he's no Kyle Allen, and maybe I think he can earn up to $7 million or something like that. But I think it's a 2-year deal, and it's nice get another guy that's familiar with the team back in the building. He's a good teammate. He's a good guy. I remember when he was on the team last, the Texans game I went to, where we won 40-0. He went in and rushed a touchdown in, so it was pretty cool seeing him out there, scoring with the guys. So yeah, again, it's a needed move. It would have been cool to draft maybe a quarterback late, just to have a rookie contract and not have to pay a couple. I know it's only a couple million, but just like it's a game of inches. It's when it comes to money, it's just a couple million can make a difference. Another guy, Nick Morrow. I like the signing because obviously we planned on Tyrell Dotson not coming back, and this Nick Morrow, again, Philadelphia Eagles fans. A lot of them were kind of glad he's gone. If they blame a couple of the losses on him, when in all reality, that defense was just absolute trash at the end of the year anyway. But I mean, he had over 100 tackles. He was a green dot, starting linebacker for them. He's obviously not going to start for us, but with the resume, you kind of feel comfortable if Matt Milano isn't ready to start week 1 for some reason, which again I don't know anything about his situation right now. It's really under wraps. So he might be able to play week 1. I'm not going to say for sure, but regardless, you got a guy like him as your number 3 linebacker, and it'll be pretty good. So we'll see. I mean, I haven't watched much tape on him to claim what the Eagles fans are claiming, but we will see. And then I was happy with this. this signing, Matt Collins, and I was like, okay, this should be it for a receiver. 1-year deal, $3 million. Big body, 6'4", 220, fast, strong. He had a couple really good games in Oakland or Las Vegas. He had a couple big games in Miami. He's the epitome of what a wide receiver 4 is. And again, I don't want people to fall for the fluff that they did with Hardy and Sherfield. And I covered Jordan Poyer's signature because I don't like Dolphins players, so had to cover that up. Oh, Sophia coming in. Nice to see you. Thanks for doing the show, even though you're up from a long day at work. Oh, I appreciate it. You guys tuning in make it better. So really appreciate that. Go Bills. Absolutely. And yeah, with Matt Collins, don't expect him to come out here and put up an 800-yard season, 50 catches. He's a guy, I would love to use in the red zone. Just imagine, not talking about who we might draft at receiver yet, but just imagine Justin Shorter, 6'4", Matt Collins, 6'4", Josh Allen in the red zone, Dalton Kincaid in the red zone. That could be pretty awesome. A lot of big targets, a lot of good catchers. That could be scary red zone offense. So I like the Holland sign-in. Again, great special teamer. We got rid of Sarad Neal, so you got to replace him somewhere. Matt Collins will be good at special teams, and then he'll see some of the field in offense. But it looks like a special guest might be in the back already. If he wants to come in now, he can give me a thumbs up. Okay. So without further ado, you guys, some of you may know him. A lot of you, may know him as the founder of this great channel. Without further ado, Mr. Mike.
What is up, Sean? I thought you were going to introduce me as a DJ Marshmallow.
Oh, you're not supposed to. I thought his identity was supposed to be under wraps.
Right? It is for sure. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's funny because, I watch other content too, not just Bills, Dolphins, Titans, etc. And it's always funny when free agency and things like this happen, because at that point, every team, every fan base thinks, this is it. We got what great moves, and we're ready to go. We got the great depth, and we got this, and we got that. And, it's just funny to me that every fan base does it, because it's not just us. So you go around the league and you see other fan bases. They're all just, all right, this is a team now. We got a couple nice signings. That's it. We're Super Bowl bound now. So I don't know if you see that around, if you think it's funny or not, but I always find it funny.
Yeah, I've seen it. It is funny. And I know you and I have a few differences of opinions with people as far as the latest signing, which is a lot of people are happy about, and I'm not. And I don't know if you got into it, Curtis Samuel. Sorry.
Not yet. Yeah, I was waiting for you.
Yeah. No. I see. It's funny when you see a lot of the folks like, all right, we got the pieces now. Let's go. But I think what happened in the last couple of signings, and you're going to talk about in a little bit, has really changed the shape of what the draft might look like.
Yeah, definitely. Been a Bills fan all my life from Rochester. 54 years old. Gotta win a Super Bowl before I die. I'm getting worried. Yeah, I think we got every right to be worried, but I guess it's not impossible, right? And Brett, we're gonna have to draft well, absolutely. And then the truck reviewer, the cam reviewer. That's what it really should be. The cam reviewer. I love that. It's Marshmallow. LOL. He let his identity out. He wasn't supposed to. But yeah, let's get into that Curtis Samuel signing, Mike. And I know this would be kind of a one-way argument, because we're the only two people in the community, content creator-wise, that have this opinion that we're probably going to both share. But we'll put the other side of the coin out there too for everybody else. And again, feel free in the chat. We do this for you guys, so we want to hear your points of views and how you feel about everything as well. But Mike, I'll let you go first. I remember you called me because there was 100 text messages in our group chat. And you said, hey, what's going on? What's going on? I said, oh, well, we signed Curtis Samuel. So what were you thinking when I told you? And has your opinion changed? First of all, say your initial opinion. And then after that, has it changed?
So when I heard his name, I'm like, okay, the first thing I'm thinking about, how much money did we spend? And then I heard 24 million up to 30 million. And I thought, why? I thought we had other needs. I mean, we talked about it on our previous shows. We had safety needs. There were some really good safeties out there that went for around the same type of money. And because initially I'm like, we're not going to make any big splash signings. We just don't have the money to do it. And then I see this happen, and I'm like, oh man. I mean, first of all, you just signed Mac Hollins, and then we've been talking about drafting wide receivers, how deep the wide receiver class is in the draft. You can get a very good wide receiver first, second, or third round and save yourself that money and put it towards other things, future signings. Like I said, other needs, safety, huge need, huge concern for me. So that was my initial thought. And again, I hear all the, and again, it's not Curtis Samuel. I think is a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think the arguments there that he's put up bigger numbers than Gabe with a less quarterback than Josh Allen. I mean, he hasn't really played with very good quarterbacks whatsoever. And he's had really good seasons, and he does meet a few of the criteria that I had for a new receiver. Somebody who's super fast. Guy runs a 4.3. Now that was like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I always joke, I'm like, you know how we have to go into the what do you want to call it? Get our license, right? The DMV. And they make us take that eye test all the time. And as you get older, for me at least, it gets a little blurrier. I'm thinking like every 5 years, these guys should have to run another 40. So we can kind of see if they've been able to keep up with that. But a 4.3, 6 or 7 years ago, pretty darn good. 5'11", around 200. So I like what he's done, and he can bring some electricity. But I also feel we could have got that in the draft as well.
Yeah, and just before I go, did you say your opinion didn't change, right?
No.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So Brett brings up one of the points that everyone else is bringing up. Again, there's nothing incorrect about it. His best season was when Joe Brady was an offensive coordinator in Carolina. And, people will say, like you mentioned, he's never had a good quarterback. And that, he's had, great seasons. And, Josh Allen is going to be the answer for him to really unlock himself. But I just want to remind everybody that before I get into it, last year when we got Sherfield, when we got Hardy and players like that, the same thing was said that, and again, Samuel's a better football player than all of those guys, but that they never had good quarterbacks. And then what changed when they came to Buffalo? Nothing really. So I just want everyone to understand that being questionable about a move does not make you a bad fan. It does not make you, because I feel like some people, they get when it's a different of opinion, a lot of people are not afraid, but they don't feel like expressing it because so many other people are against it, or they're the other way. But I encourage people that even though big channels and great content creators say this is a fantastic signing for this, and this, if you don't think it's good for this, and this, then you should also be able to voice it. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's what Mike's been doing. But first, let me get to Sophia. He had the third fastest burst last year ahead of Tyreek. Yeah, I saw that too. And, and that's a great thing as well. And then, they showed his catch percentage, which was also really good. So where I stand and where I continue to stand and where I will stand, like you mentioned a little bit, Mike, it's not Curtis Samuel, the football player. I looked at it as the situation and what we're in already and the future of our football team. So we're just negative 54 million in cap, which everybody seems to forget about now because we're positive. And, remember who got us there, by the way. Brandon Beane got us negative 54 million in cap. We're back to zero. So we praise him for getting us back to zero after he got us to negative 54. And then when we signed Hollins, I said, okay, perfect. So now we got Stephon Diggs, who will be probably gone in 2 years. So we could draft a wide receiver 2, who is going to be Diggs' replacement when Diggs leaves. Then you got, so you got whoever that's going to be. Then you got Khalil Shakir, who should be our future. And then you got homegrown talent like Shorter, who we haven't seen yet. And then a guy like KJ Hamler and Mac Hollins, who are decent, right? and then you can draft a couple other people. Plus, you got Dalton Kincaid. Plus, you got James Cook. Plus, you got Dawson Knox to worry about. So, being the biggest draft class with wide receiver talent, and we have 11 draft picks, I thought about this and I was like, man, like, do they not believe that these guys in the draft can make a difference on our football team? Because I was thinking, like, yeah, people look at the contract, 3 years, 15 million guaranteed, and now after 2 years, up to 30 million. So we'll just say 10 million just to be 3 years, 30 million just to be safe. We want to sign Khalil Shakir, don't we, Mike? We want to re-sign the talent that we drafted, that we saw grow up into the player that they become. And I know it's not 30 million in 1 year, but we got to sign Bernard in 2 years. We got to sign Shakir, Rousseau, and all these other players that are going to want contract extensions and to stay in Buffalo. When you could have used that 30 million that you spent on soon to be 28-year-old Curtis Samuel instead of putting it into our future young talent like a 23-year-old Khalil Shakir or a 23-year-old or 24-year-old Terrell Bernard. So that's where it was for me, was really just, I don't understand, because we weren't in the position money-wise to have another outside contract extension. Investing in someone who's not going to be our future of our team. He's a great football player, very fast, very good at catching the football, good at screens, good at running he can also run the football out of the backfield. A lot of positives about this guy. But for me personally, I would rather draft a guy like Xavier Legette, like we always talk about here, and maybe a guy like Brendan Rice, and maybe another guy out there too that we're going to get into when we get into draft talk later, and maybe hope one or two of them stick out of the three. What's wrong with that? And then if you do go that route, I know I'm rambling, but I'm about to land the plane here, so just bear with me. So Diggs is going to leave in 2 years. We'll say we got Legette. Legette is a potential wide receiver one talent. He hits. You got Legette. You got Shakir. You got Dalton Kincaid. And then you got maybe Brandon Rice. That's 4 young guys on a rookie deal that you don't have to invest all that money in right away, except for Shakir will be the first one to sign. So I would rather have that and build the core up. So then when we are ready to compete for the Super Bowl yet again, then you could go out and get a signing like Curtis Samuel. Because honestly, I think we're still in a retool state. That's just my opinion. I know Brett disagrees, but is what I'm saying making sense, Mike, or am I just way off base here?
No, I don't think you're way off base, but I do vary a little bit with you as far as your opinion goes. And again, you're looking at the future, which is always good. I like that. I mean, you've always been big on that. And for me, hey, if it was to get us over the top and move the needle and win a Super Bowl, I mean, it's all good. It's a brilliant move, right? I don't really, I've always told you, if we can sell out and get a Super Bowl this year and I see one before I go upstairs to the big guy, I'll go with that, even if it means we're going to struggle and retool down the road.
Absolutely.
But for me,
do you think Curtis Samuel's going to be that we're going to win a Super Bowl now?
No, that's the issue I have, right? So, look, Gabe Davis, and I watched the video with Eric Woods and Khalil Shakir, and I love Khalil Shakir. Big fan of his ever since he came out ever since we drafted him. And he talked about Gabe, and he said just what a player he was. He would do whatever was asked of him. He wasn't complaining about. He wasn't getting balls thrown to him. He's out there blocking. He did a lot of things that people really, you don't see in a stat sheet, and that's his ability to block. Curtis Samuel's not a blocker like Gabe was. So you lose a little bit by getting him. And I don't think it moves the needle enough, especially when you just let go, some key players on your offensive line, one of them, two of them actually, Ryan Bates, Mitch Morse. And then you let go of Poyer, I wanted Poyer to come back, just not necessarily a full-time guy, but more of leadership. But now you got Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin is one of your starters, or you got Cam Lewis right now. And there's a huge concern there. And then, of course, at the cornerback position, I mean, you lost Trey White. I kind of thought that might happen. I was 50-50 that was going to happen. Dane Jackson was a surprise to me that we didn't re-sign him. He got some good money. So now all of a sudden, you don't have too many. I mean, we got Christian Benford. We got Rasul Douglas. If those guys were healthy all year, I feel really good. But both of them, got hurt last year, and Christian Benford seems to get hurt every year. So he's only been in the league a couple of years. Who's that depth piece right now? You can say Cam Lewis, but Cam's a versatile guy. He's not that specialty guy at corner. He's not that guy you're like, oh, I'm going to feel really good. Cam's going to come in and shut somebody down. But you got Kyer Elam now, who really has to rise, and they have to get something out of him. This is his third year. So I have concerns. I just have concerns other places that I think would move the needle, Sean, more
Right. Yeah.
than signing Curtis Samuel.
Absolutely. And to go again, I'm not trying to say that other people are incorrect for saying that it's a good signing, because theoretically it is a good signing. But from the point of view that I'm looking at, we just got done making mistakes like signing people when we weren't quite ready. Because sure, this team could win a Super Bowl, but let's really think about it. Are we in that position this year where it's highly likely as it was maybe last year or the year before? I don't quite think so. So I would have, if we did have this money to spend, this $24 million or $15 million guaranteed, like you mentioned, we got DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp. I would have rather thrown 2 years, $15 million guaranteed at Justin Simmons if we were going to. I didn't want to spend them extra money because we're in a bad position. But if we were going to spend money like we did, I rather would have signed a safety or maybe even a corner, because I will give Kyer Elam another chance, because all last year, after 2 bad years from Spencer Brown, horrible years, everybody said, give him another chance. Don't give up. He could have a good season. Give him another shot. He has Aaron Cromer again. He's not hurt anymore. Let's see what happens. I'm giving that same energy to Kyer Elam, that even though he was a first-round pick, maybe he just needed a new defensive coach or just another chance. And he was pretty hurt last year. So maybe it'll be a different year, and maybe he'll beat out Benford this time, and then it'll be nice. And because Kyer makes plays. We've seen Kyer, even when he hasn't played a lot, he goes in and makes interceptions. He may get beat, but he bounces back and makes plays. So I'm with you when it comes to that point of view, Mike, of I rather would have just got super young. There's a lot of guys we could draft at wide receiver, and we're going to talk about it when we get to our draft shows maybe next week. But there's a ton of guys. And Brett said we wanted speed, and we asked for speed, and we got it. There's a ton of speedy guys in the draft too that are 7 years younger than Curtis Samuel. Not that he's old, but he'll be 28 by the time the season starts. So, I mean, again, theoretically, I don't hate the move, but situationally, I don't like it. I don't like Brandon Beane's some of his decision making. And real quick, before I get into that, I'll just pull up some comments. I pulled this up early, but I wanted to read it too. Enter Curtis Samuel among NFL wide receivers that ran at least 300 routes in 2023. He averaged 9.08 miles per hour within the first second of his route, which is very good. A figure that ranked third fastest in the league. Incredible. Those want to speed. They got it. Mike finally admitted that Cam Lewis was a big concern. He really did. I'm surprised he did, actually.
Well, I mean, let's face it. I've never said Cam was a starting corner. He's a backup. Right. And if he has to come in for a game or two, okay. But long term, no. I mean, he's a special team guy. He's a back. He's versatile. He can play corner if you have to. He can play nickel. He can play safety. Never said he was a starter there. That's why he's only getting paid $1.5 million a year, my friend.
The excuses he's coming out with Trek Reviewer to back him up. So Brett says we had nobody at wide receiver too. Absolutely. I mean, theoretically, Shakir was the wide receiver too at this point in time before Samuel, but that's what the draft was for. We had so many different options we could pick from, and I would have much rather have gambled with them because they're on a rookie contract, and then they could be our future. Move Kyer to safety. I wouldn't do that yet, in my opinion, but it could be a future move. Draft Johnny Wilson and make him your center fielder. We needed a reliable threat. We can't rely on wishy-washy player like Davis again. Absolutely. But again, I really think that we could have nailed that in the draft. I don't mind stacking up corners instead in the draft. Yeah, that's true as well. But
let me ask you a question, Sean, real quick. Sure. Right now, as it stands, with who we got on our roster, do you think this roster is better, even with Curtis Samuel, than it was last year?
No. Especially before the season started, we really thought we gave Gabe that injury excuse last year. Remember, he he said, "Oh, I couldn't catch because I couldn't catch the ball because my leg hurt, even though you catch the ball with your hands." So he put the excuses out for himself. We all gave it to him. We felt bad for him. And then this year he came out and then was nothing but inconsistent. 7 games with 1 catcher less and 4 or 5 with 0 catches. That's not wide receiver 2 material. So I'm sorry. We can't pay you $17 million a year for that. So again, I love Gabe Davis, but I'm glad he got his money, but it wasn't a situation for us to get him. So preseason, absolutely not. This team is not better. But again, hopefully in the draft we hit some needs and it'll be nice. But real quick, I just wanted to go back to my Brandon Beane, in case you guys didn't watch on my channel on Red, White, and Bills. I talked about why I was frustrated about the players leaving. I'm not frustrated because Jordan Poyer and Mitch Morse and Steron Neal and Trey White got cut because they're, because we like them as players. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. I like the Buffalo more than I like the player. At the end of the day, I'll always support them. But what I was angry about, and I'll try to make this super quick, was when you do anything in life, run a business like I do, or have a manager's position like Mike does, or anything you do in life, you should have at least 2 to 3 to 5 year plan, if not 10, to really do well at something. So if I'm just thinking about tomorrow, my business is never going to scale, and it's a smaller mindset. So Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott should have sat down 2-3 years ago and said, is Mitch Morse going to be on a factor on this team in 3 or 4 or 5 years? Is Trey White going to be? Is Jordan Poyer going to be? No. Okay. So let's now, 3 years prior, start bringing these guys in to be future replacements. We didn't really do that with center. We didn't do that with safety. And you could say we tried with corner, because we did with Kyer Elam, with Christian Benford. But again, they just didn't work out. So that was the unfortunate part. But now we're doing stuff like moving Connor McGovern, who played absolutely outstanding at left guard, to center. And again, he might not be bad at center, but the last thing I got to say about that offensive line part is this would be Dawkins' fourth guard next to him in 4 years. What about continuity? What about how great they played together last year? Dawkins should have been an all-pro last year. McGovern gave up the least amount of pressures on the team. He gave up a pressure every 3% of his of snaps. So 3 out of 100 is a pressure. And it was his best year as a pro. And now we're going to move that to center and then put a guy like David Edwards in, who isn't bad, but now the continuity with him and Dawkins is going to be different. So where was the preparedness for that? And Brett says Benford didn't work out. Yeah, he's a starter, but is he really, a great replacement for Trey White? I don't think so. He's always injured. And again, he's had his good and bad days, but that's just my opinion. He wasn't prepared for this, and that's why I'm upset about it. I'm not upset about players getting cut. It's part of the business. It happens. And, as long as you don't sign with a division rival, I wish you luck. But if you sign with a division rival, I can't. But anyway, that's my whole thing about Brandon Beane. He's a great GM at some points, but we all ignore the stuff like this that he does, like not being prepared, like signing these massive contracts to people that shouldn't be getting big contracts or contracts at all. And then, getting us negative $54 million in cap. And then all of a sudden he's a genius because we're back to 0. So that's all I'm saying about Brandon Beane. It's just a little bit frustrating. And again, Benford could be okay, but no, the Bills won't do that, Brett, because I realized that the Cowboys got rid of their center, or they didn't re-sign him. He's with Atlanta. So the Cowboys need a center, and they're at 24. And then the Vikings just traded their first round pick, traded up to the first round with the Texans at 23. So unless they want a quarterback, they might be drafting him as well. So I don't think we're going to be trading up. And I don't agree with this. If Von and Trey didn't get hurt, we would win a Super Bowl. But that's what Beane thought. But that's the problem. You sign the guys like Von Miller when you have your true core at every position built through the draft, and then you're ready to do something like that. We weren't. We thought we were, but we weren't. So let's see. But Mike, how do you feel? Do you think he was unprepared for this? Before we move on to next topic, or do you think it was just an unfortunate circumstance?
A little bit of both. I have a question for you.
Sure.
if you knew you were going to cut Mitch, and I know you're not a fan of Ryan Bates, but Bates
Mhm.
would have been that guy that go to center. He's been with the team a long time. You cut Bates first, and then you release Mitch. If you knew you were going to release Mitch, would you have cut Ryan Bates for very
Well,
little savings? I know you're not a fan of his, but now with the
right.
circumstance, knowing that Morse was released, would you not have wanted him at least as that depth piece? Would it made it feel? Would it have made you feel better right now, knowing what you know?
No. I mean, if I was Brandon Bean, maybe, but see, it's tough because originally I never thought we should have signed Bates in the first place to that contract. The Bears wanted him, and we were scared because we had a crap O line, so we matched their deal so he would come back, and it was outrageous and stupid. So for me, I don't think it was a good idea. But I think the reason why they let go of Bates was because I forgot who mentioned it, but apparently Cromer makes every position play center in practice. So they see McGovern play center, so they probably felt I'd rather have McGovern play center than Ryan Bates. But to your point, if you thought that Mitch wasn't going to be here, why didn't we trade him last year? Or why didn't we sign someone like Luke Whippler? Or why did we trade away our picks earlier in the third and fourth round? A couple of the years that we could have got a center in, and then reach for a guy like Dorian Williams, or take a guy like Justin Shorter, who's probably going to get cut this year because we got Curtis Samuel, or he's going to get put in the practice squad and he's going to get picked up by the Giants. One of the two things, those things are going to happen. So that stinks. But yeah, I mean, when Bates got cut, I said, okay, we're gonna keep Morse as last year, and then we're gonna draft a center hopefully, and then he's gonna play behind Morse, and then if Morse gets hurt, then he'll come in. If not, he'll play the year out, and then he'll be ready to go next year, and it's perfect because then you're only moving one spot. Now we got to find a left guard and a center because again, I don't think Edwards is a bad player, but we got to remember he played in a limited sample size last year in heavy package, and he was good. His last year starting with the Rams, just go back to that week 1 game that we played them. Mike, you were there. He got absolutely embarrassed to the point where nobody else wanted to sign him after. That's why we signed him. So in that limited role, I loved Edwards there. So I just don't think, to your point, in a roundabout way, I just don't think they know what they're doing with that. They cut Bates and they got rid of Morris. So then they're just like, yeah, well, last case scenario, we're going with McGovern. So to me personally, I don't think they understood what they're doing. Again, I don't like Bates, so I could care less. But
I know you don't.
I mean, I like him as a person, but he's not good in my
Yeah,
opinion. He's okay at best. But again, I just felt like it goes to my point where he's not prepared. I just think he kind of let go of him and then was like, oh yeah, we're gonna put McGovern there, and then Edwards is gonna be back there. We're good. But
I will say this. So to your point, I mean, the coaching staff, they see what's going on, right? So
they
if they
do.
let Bates go, they have to feel confident in McGovern and Edwards. Um, I just lost my train of thought was where I was going to go there. But oh
They,
yeah, no,
they do that all the time, apparently.
I remember. So it takes a while to gel. So even if you make that shift, right, and you can go back to KC as an example, Kansas City, they've kind of retooled the bookends a couple times now, both their offensive tackles, and they always got off to a rough start. But hopefully, if that happens, I mean, the concern for me is like that line was so good last year, and they were only going to be better. Give Mitch that one more year, get that young guy behind him. I mean, you saw how good they were last year. It was incredible, and we had a decent amount of depth behind us. Now now I don't see that. The depth scares me, and it will take a while. Like those guys could be great. McGovern at center, we could be looking back. I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks in and be like, wow, what a great move. And Edwards, all the concerns, just like with Bernard, right? What happened there? People were so concerned about Terrell Bernard. And after week 2, we were like, my goodness,
Right.
we were so wrong about this. So it'll take a while to adjust. My concern is getting out of the gate slow. Can't afford that. You know that. People are always saying early in the season, it's only
Mm-hmm.
one game, guys. But no, we saw how that really matters later in the
Every year.
season. Yeah.
Yep.
So again, I
And
do think they again, I don't know. I think they did little miscalculate there.
yeah, and they up until last year, they always had on offensive line. They always screw up and make bad mistakes and poor judgment. And Brett, to the point where we need to get under the cap. Why did we need to get under the cap? Because Mr. Brandon Bean screwed our cap and we had no choice but to make up for his mistakes. That's why he had to cut people. So that's for Cap. And then we might be grabbing Brian Allen, maybe. But again, the offensive line was ranked 6th last year out of 32. I was saying it every week. I come on here, I come on my own show and say, I don't know what you guys are seeing, but this offensive line is absolutely outstanding every week. They're one of the best offensive lines in the league. Everyone's like, no, they stink. No, they stink. McGovern stinks. Torrance is getting beat up. Brown stinks. But this offensive line was ranked number 6 for a reason. And again, they played every single snap together, minus when we were blowing a team out, and then they would take Morse, McGovern, and Dawkins out. Osiris Torrance played 1,300 snaps this year. And the only time anyone else got taken out was because we were beating a team by a lot, and we didn't have a backup right guard. So, except for Bates, because Bates was playing center. So Torrance had no choice but to stay in. So again, would you, and just in the chat can answer this too, would you rather fix one position or 2? And I know the answer, I know it's a simple question. Obviously, it seems kind of silly, but makes a big difference in the offensive line. Remember how good Dawkins and McGovern were next to each other. Both played outstanding. I think they both give up 1 sack the entire year. And pressure-wise, I wrote it down somewhere and I lost it at the season when the season ended. But they were very, very, very good, very outstanding, especially in pass protection as well. And then Morse only gave up 1 sack. Again, you got to replace Morse. That's why we should have had his replacement in the building already. That wasn't Ryan Bates, because Ryan Bates wasn't, to me, the true backup. He was just a utility guy that, in desperation, we can have him. And then again, Torrance and Brown, as great as they did last year, that was 1 year. They got to repeat it. So imagine the worst case scenario. Torrance has an off year, we'll say. I don't see it happening. But let's just think of worst case for just to paint the picture. And then Brown struggles because Torrance is struggling. And then McGovern's struggling at center because he's new to center. And then Torrance is struggling. And then David Edwards is struggling because he's not that good. And then Dawkins is back to struggling again like he did when Roger Saffold was next to each other. And then we're back to a shitty offensive line that we had up until last year. So, and again, like you said, Mike, this could be a great decision. But the funny part is that's what people are going to hang on to. Like, if it by chance works out, like for some reason, if we draft a left guard, he starts, and then McGovern ends up being good at center, everyone's going to be like, oh, Bean knew what the hell he was doing. Who the hell are you? But it's just a fall. It's just a cop out. And it just worked out that way for him. He's not doing it because he truly knows that that's what's going to be great. They're just doing it. And they're going to, if that works out for them, they're going to get the praise. And then people are going to look at me like I'm a moron. And that's just how it goes. But we're going to get to Brett's comments, and then we'll talk about a couple more things and wrap it up. Dynasties like New England don't last forever. 20 years is a long time, though. We need to rebuild and retool. I'm okay with this. Take a year off and regroup next year. Yeah, that's why we're doing, and that's why signing Curtis Samuel is not a good idea. Morris has a history of concussions. Bates has a weakness on the line, absolutely. Let's not judge Bean until he finishes retooling them. We are so quick to judge nowadays. Remember when everyone judged her? Come on, bro. I know you're busting my chops.
Let me chime in on something, Sean, real quick. In defense of Bean a little bit, all right? And again, I know it sounds like we're bashing him. But I just want to defend him a little bit. So I think what got us in trouble, obviously, with the cap space was the signing of Von Miller, right? That was one of the big reasons. Huge contract, didn't work out for us. But at that time, similar to what the Rams did a few years ago when they won the Super Bowl, Bean was all in. Like, let's get the Super Bowl for Buffalo, Western New York. Let's do it now. And he went in on the Von Miller. It was a huge, huge signing. We were all excited about it. And Von got off to an incredible start, that year until he got injured. You never know what would have happened had he not got injured. But to my point here is sometimes a GM's going to gamble. And like I've told you, if we were to sell out this year or yet last year or whatever, and we got that one Super Bowl, I think he saw it. He said, this is the time to strike. He went big. Nobody saw that coming in the offseason for sure. It looked like it was going to pay off. It didn't. So a gamble that didn't work out. I don't necessarily hate that, Sean, only because he gave it a shot. And other GMs have done it. And obviously it was a swing and a miss, strike three.
Right. So. And to that point too, I mean, they still had Jalen Ramsey in his prime. They had Aaron Donald in his prime, and Von Miller not as old as he was. And I forgot that one safety, Taylor Rapp, and then someone else. And then they were already a team ready to go. But again, I just feel like when you look at us, it's just a totally different team. And but to your point, I mean, it wasn't just the Von Miller thing. It was a kicking the can down the road for years and years and years that catches up with you. So I don't hate the Von Miller signing, but we got to eat it. And he made a mistake, and it turns out because of the injury. And even if he's good next year, we were supposed to get 3 years of him, and we got 2. But that's a valid point you made. Brett says you guys are killing me, and I'm going to defend him, and I wouldn't expect anything less. But I'm going to continue to stand 10 toes down on those takes. Bates needed to be traded because he made too much money for a backup, 100,050%. Absolutely. Trek reviewer, time for UFL football. Mike and Sean, great combo. What's up? Vaughn will be back to his normal self. Speculation as of right now, it's tough to say. Is Diggs acting crazy again? No, he's just being himself. Gambled on Vaughn and Floyd. Both went MIA. Absolutely. And we don't learn. Williams. Sebastian.
By the way, it was Eric Weddle was that other safety.
Eric Weddle, yeah.
Long-time star for the Chargers and retired, and they brought him out of retirement, and he got his ring, and it was a great player, by the way. Yeah. So again, they went all out. Brett, I'm not bashing Bean. I mean, there's some things that I question, and like I said, if I'm going to give an excuse, and this is something I would have been all right with, Jake and I have mentioned this many times. If we sold out, we gambled, and we hit. Fantastic, man. I don't care if you're hurt down the road. It takes a few years to retool. The Rams, look what happened to them. It took them the year after they came off the Super Bowl win, didn't make the playoffs, and then the following year, there they were back in the playoffs once again. So,
and that's also by drafting a good young core. They were able to do that. So if we're just focusing on free agents, it ends up biting you. And not the truck reviewer,
crushing the can of beans.
To Matt Chatter's point, like, I know it was just a year difference, but Brandon Beane in his mind thought, let's sign a 34-year-old to a 3-year deal, and we're going to win a Super Bowl. You couldn't have found anyone else in the NFL that could have been that Super Bowl move for you. That's just my point. Is like as good as he was, where's the thought process there?
Leadership.
I like the signing, but I mean, we could have maybe thought about that a little bit more and maybe found somebody else. But you guys are crushing the can of beans. No, and that's the and I'm glad Brett brought this up. I know he's being silly out there, but that's the misconception in the community is like you can't say anything bad about Brandon Beane or Josh Allen or anyone that we love because then you're not a true fan. You're just being a hater. What do you know? You're not a pro athlete. You're not this. But you could see this and for yourself and have your own opinion and formulate it. And that's what we're doing. We don't hate Brandon Beane, but we're not gonna say he's a genius for putting us in the situation we're in. So but we're not trying to kill him though. But if we don't pick the right wide receiver, pick one, we fail again. Mahomes owns Josh Allen, and the Chiefs have proven that they get rid of big unnecessary contracts, like even a Tyreek Hill, and they can draft a guy like Rashee Rice and sign a very cheap free agent wide receivers and have bums like MVS and win the damn Super Bowl. So again, we don't have Andy Reid, so that's a huge reason why. But that's my point. Like, why do we need to go sign Curtis Samuel? Why can't we draft 3 Rashee Rices next year, or 2, or 1, and then have Josh Allen throw him the football? That's my whole point about it. But to wrap it up, Mike,
hold on, Sean, real quick on that one. It's a great point, and I don't want to lose sight of it. You saw what the Chiefs did. They laid the blueprint, right? They didn't have great receivers. What got them to the Super Bowl last year? What was it?
The coaching and defense.
Defense. And right now, and Josh Allen can make any wide receiver better. And Curtis Samuel, yes, the player himself is fantastic, but defense. And right now, we've got some questions on defense, which have to be addressed. And the Kansas City Chiefs have retooled. They were under the cap, and they did it with, I mean, look at the receivers they had. You already named them. So
Horrible.
again, there's another point to Curtis Samuel, great player. Did we need him? No, I think we could have spent that money in other places, which are a bigger concern. Get that defense
Right.
stout, because look how many times we had the lead late in the game and we couldn't hold it because the defense couldn't hold it.
Absolutely. That's a
So
fantastic point, Mike. And just to quickly say another point of view for me, if Josh Allen is the quarterback that I think he is, and I do, I could care less a high school player. He's going to make that guy better. So would I rather have a young rookie on a rookie deal for 4 years, maybe a fifth year if they're a first round pick, or a 28-year-old Curtis Samuel who's still a good player? I'm picking the young guy every time. I'm picking a guy like Leggett over Curtis Samuel. I'm picking a guy like who's that? Like Worthy or Johnson, not Johnson, Brian Thomas or whatever. But I'm taking one of those guys every time and building my true core with them, because again, your quarterback is making a bunch of money. So you got to have deals like that. You can't be afraid. You got to be like Kansas City. You can't be afraid to get rid of your best player and your, besides your quarterback, and go after it again. But real quick to end, I just wanted to say have a couple conversations. One, after the first wave of free agency, we talked about it briefly, but because the safety position in the draft is so, weak compared to, I know he's too short. Matt Chatter, I was just using it as an example because we haven't really gotten into it yet with receivers. But sorry, I lost my train of thought now. What was I saying? The safety draft being so weak and the wide receiver draft being so strong, we went and got a receiver, not a safety. Are you concerned, or are you not, that maybe we'll reach for a safety early now when we may not have to because we're in that position? And I personally can see the Bills doing that. But how do you feel, and do you think we should get a safety within the first 2 rounds?
I do now. I like I said, I think it's reshaped the draft a bit. I think, to me, being as late as cards out, I've taken care of the wide receiver room. I have needs at defensive tackle. I have needs at safety, and maybe on the offensive line. But in the first 2 rounds, Sean, I see in the second round, potentially safety. They're going to go DT in the first. I've been saying that for a while. I really feel that that's going to be the case, and I'm happy with that. Get us T'Vondre Sweat. Get us a Byron Murphy. Man, I'd be so excited to be jumping up and down. But in the second round now, I think if there's you might even move up. Use those 11 picks. Do you really think they're going to keep all 11 picks? I hope they use them to move up the board, maybe get us a third, move up in the second, and get one of those top 4 safeties out there. Mr. Kalen Bullock, I'm talking about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but there's a few
that.
really good ones, but it's drop off after like 3 or 4. It's a big drop off. So I do see maybe in the second round, Sean, safety.
Man, we're going to have to see. And a couple comments before I get into something I want to say. This is a great point. I'm going to call you Matt Chatter anyway. I'm sorry. But and we got to get you up here one of these days. I've been asking you so we could chop it up. You told me you disagreed with me 2 weeks ago and we never got to talk. So one of these days you can come up and we can chat. But he said, we never draft wide receiver in the first. Our scouts stink. And this is the part, our scouts stink, that I really wanted to talk about. Can you guys remember how many people besides Josh Allen that we drafted that immediately, year one, the NFL knew their name immediately by storm and they were talked about as one of the best players at their position? How many of those guys can you think of besides Josh Allen? And he wasn't even good year one. Can you think of anyone?
Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith. I mean,
No,
I'm going way back. Are you talking about the Beans?
In this era.
Beans there?
Yeah.
Ed Oliver.
Did he take the league by storm though in year one?
No, he did not. I'm just throwing out names here that I'm thinking about.
I think maybe Brett said it before. I think maybe you could say Trey White.
You know who kind of did a little? Yeah, Trey White. I think Trey White. You could say Greg Rousseau in his first year. It was fantastic in that first year, but
we're gonna get into Greg Rousseau.
Kind of regressed a little bit.
Josh Allen wasn't taking the league by storm, and I mean that's weird because he did take the league by storm, Josh Allen, because he jumped over someone, but he wasn't good. So that's a weird one. And Tremaine Edmonds, he wasn't really like that. Like he was good, but he wasn't like the NFL wasn't like, man, Tremaine Edmonds is going to be the best linebacker in the world. Like nobody was like that. But even like looking over at Miami, Jalen Waddle, immediately everybody knew who he was. And everyone thought he was great. And that's just one name off the top of my head. And he disagrees about Edmonds. And I mean, Rousseau, I don't agree. And then Dawkins, again, I'm saying like you draft them and then year one, they're all pro. Everybody thinks that they're a fantastic player. But I mean, Brett, you can disagree. I absolutely think that you have validity to your opinions. But let me read this one comment by T Jab. I don't think I've ever seen you here before, so welcome in. And if I have seen you before and it's just a different name, please let me know. I'm not so sure the money was well spent on Curtis Samuel as well. I think we should have spent the money and draft capital on 2 top receivers. Receivers are very expensive after their 5th year, 100%. And that's the route I wanted to go. And before I get into, I got to move these comments up. Brett said something. And again, my co-host, I love you, buddy. I know you're injured and you're resting, which is maybe why you put this comment out there. But we have to push back. This is where we part ways because I think this is the opposite of what you should do. You have to rely on the draft to build your team. And then when you're ready to win a Super Bowl, when you got the core in place, then you get free agents. If you build your team around free agents, you're going to be negative $54 million in cap, and then you're going to be screwed. So, but again, this could work as well. But to me, that's all I want to say. And then no day. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Just look at the Chiefs, man. They got rid of Tyreek Hill, got all those draft choices, drafted all those young players, and they were pretty much playing year 1, year 2, and look where they are now.
Yep. He said no Daquan or Epinesa talk. Daquan, we paid him more this time around than we did 2 years ago when he was younger, and he was injured at the end of the first year and then injured again in the second year. So overpay that should have been different and a little bit less money. I don't think Teron Johnson took the league by storm, and Wyatt Teller got traded, after the first year because they didn't like him. So don't agree there. And then Torrance did light up the league, but again, the whole NFL wasn't like this guy's the best, one of the best guards I've ever seen as a rookie. We did because we seen it, but he wasn't that guy that everyone was like, oh man, he's Creed Humphrey. Like nobody talked about him like that. That's all I mean, really. But Greg Rousseau. Let me talk about Greg Rousseau quick to get to my point about edge rushers. I think we might need to get 2 edge rushers in the draft this year because I'm not so sure I want to re-sign Greg Rousseau. I'm not sure I even want to give him the 5th-year option because a first-round pick, he was a guy we drafted sorely on his size and his athleticism. He had 1 year of defensive end experience in his entire life up until he played in the NFL. We drafted him because of the size and the speed, and as a first-round pick, he disappears in the pass rush. So you spend a first-round pick on a guy who can make a couple run stops. I'm not paying Greg Rousseau $25 million a year. I don't know about you, Mike, but here's my point of view on Greg Rousseau. If Greg Rousseau gets 15 to 20 sacks this year, I'm trading him. I'm getting a haul for him. I'm not going to pay this guy $25+ million. And you might think, oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that? What do you mean? Because I think personally, we're in that type of position now where you might have to do something like that, get the picks, and rebuild. Because I'm just not so sure that would be a smart move for us to do, paying this guy $25 million a year. I could be wrong. Brett wants to pay him. Matt Chatter's on the other end. He's mid. I love Greg Rousseau as a person. I think he had a lot of potential to be a very, very, very elite superstar, but he's not. He's not an elite superstar right now. And this year, in year 4, if he balls out, it's his 4th year, isn't it?
Trying to think here. I think so. 1, 2.
Yeah. So I would see how he does this year. If he does great, trade him. If he continues to do what he's been doing, don't sign his 5th-year option. And how Trek Reviewer said, give him his 5th-year option and then trade him. this is what I would do too if that option. I wouldn't mind this either if he does well and then you can't trade him during the season or something. I'm definitely trading him, giving him the 5th year just to trade him. But then the 5th year option, if you wanted him to play on the 5th year option, look at Josh Allen from the Jags this year. His 5th year option, again, it's weird because he might be considered an outside linebacker, but his fifth year option was $25 million. And Josh Allen is 20 times better than Greg Rousseau. So would you want to pay? I mean, Mike, how do you feel about that? Am I going crazy, or is that an option that we should explore maybe?
Well, I don't necessarily disagree. I was just checking out Spot Check. I'm like, all right, you're saying 25 million. I'm looking at these edge guys that got paid this year, and my goodness, 19 million for Jonathan Greenard a year, 21 for Leonard Williams. Bryce Huff got 17. So to answer your question, if you were to get 15 to 20 sacks this year, which is not going to happen, but if he did, you'd have to consider it. I mean, okay, so his rookie year, this is his 4th year. His rookie year, he showed that athleticism. I still remember that play. I think it was Monday night or Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs when the Chiefs were driving. He made that incredible play. And we just saw a lot of upside that year. Since then, it's been regression. I mean, we keep saying, I think I see everybody say, well, I expect 10 plus sacks from Rousseau. Hasn't happened. And in the biggest moments, where's he been? He's great at the run. Again, I mean, he's a good run stopper. But dude, we need some edge guys that can get to the quarterback. So to answer your question, 15 to 20 sacks. If I'm going to pay him 25 million, no. I'm gonna look to move away and get some draft capital somehow, some way.
Yeah, and Brett thinks, I struck a chord with him talking about Rousseau. He says I'm trading everyone.
Brett said we should get young and you got to retool. So
now he doesn't want to.
There we go. I mean,
next year, would you spend big bucks on edge Josh Allen? Probably not. Again, got to see where the team's at. But again, if I'm getting rid of Rousseau, I'm not gonna be able to pay Josh Allen. But here's another example, just for people in the chat. When the Miami Dolphins had Xavier Howard, that year he had 11 interceptions or 10 interceptions. Everyone, was saying, "Oh, we shouldn't get rid of him. We should keep him. We should keep him. He's going to be a beast." But they weren't going to compete for a Super Bowl. And then my friend TD Fins Talk, he was one of the only people. There was a couple others that said, "You got to trade him now because you're going to get a lot of picks for him." After that year of 10 interceptions, what did they do? They kept him. Then what happened? He stunk. He got injured. He was horrible. He was getting cooked every year after that. And guess what they did? They released him. And guess what? They're going to be paying his dead cap in this coming year and next year, I think, too. So at the end of the day, in this situation where we're at, you got AJ Epinesa locked in for 3 years. Again, Von Miller will be gone. You draft a couple edge rushers this year. You draft one next year. Maybe sign a decent one on a couple-year deal. Maybe next year. I don't know who's going to be available. But get young. And Rousseau is young as can be, but I'm not willing to pay him that much money if based off of what he's done. And then that fluke. And let's just say, basically, what I'm saying is, if he has 15, 20 sack season and it's a fluke, and you sign him $25 million a year, and the next year he gets 4, just like Xavier Howard, he had 11 picks, then he had, whatever, and he was bad. That stinks, right? So I think it's one of those positions where they come around often. So maybe it would be smart to get a good haul for him while you can, just in case, because again, the money's going to kick in for a lot of people. So it's one of those hard decisions you have to make. I would love to keep him. I love Greg Rousseau, and if he balls out, it'd be awesome. But I think that's one position where we can really get a nice, maybe even a first-round pick if he balls out for him. But again, I'm just a fan thinking how I want to think. People probably think I'm an idiot, and that's fine. But Brett says he's high. This is not the year to grab edge rushers. I mean, we got 11 picks, so we can do what we can do, So who knows? But at the end,
let me ask you a question. So first of all, Trek Reviewer asked about would you spend money on Josh Allen? For the cool factor, that would have been amazing to have two Josh Allens on the same team. But I got to ask you about Josh Allen for the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
Dude only signed a 1 year, 24. It's a big signing, but
Yeah, he got 5th-year option. He got the franchise tag. I mean,
well, it says Josh Allen signed a 1 year, 24 million contract with the Jaguars.
yeah, it's a tag.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
they didn't want to sign him, so they franchise tagged him.
Wow.
So what the franchise tag is, that's saying what that position is worth. That's why I said 25 million. Because Josh Allen is that guy. So if Greg Rousseau gets 15 to 20 sacks, he's going to get around 25 million. So that's not for, again, he wasn't, and with a guy like Rousseau, he wasn't consistent enough the first 3 years before that 15 sack year for me to think he's going to do this again. And Brett said he needs to talk to Bruce. He's been talking to Bruce since he got there. He hasn't listened, apparently.
Bruce and Von Miller, right?
Yeah.
He goes to Von's camp.
Yep.
I mean, I thought for sure when he, that was a thing for Von too. It was more than just, his capabilities. It was his leadership and his ability to teach the young guys. But that hasn't seemed to work out yet. So I like your thinking there, Sean.
Yeah, and again, I don't want people to think I just want this guy in the trash and see you later. I'm just saying, like, this is what I mean. Like, we have to think about the Buffalo first, the Buffalo Bills, before we think about players that we love. I love Greg Rousseau, man. I would love to have him till he's 35. But look at Tremaine Edmonds. We should have did this with Tremaine Edmonds, and we didn't because we thought, hey, maybe he's that guy. Maybe we could win, but we'll see. He said NFL printing money. If 7-sack Brian Burns gets $30 million, yeah, that's true. There will be bottom feeder team who will pay big. Absolutely. That's why you just got to. So basically, at the end of the day, we got nothing for Tremaine. We got a 4th-round pick basically for Tremaine Edmonds being off our team. When we could have traded him after year 3 or 4 for more, and maybe would have been better for us. That's all. We got to think like that sometimes, and I don't think our team does that. But Mike, last question before we wrap it up, because I still got to eat dinner. Because I worked super late today. How confident are you in this how this draft's going to go? Do you think we're gonna do what we need to do, or do you think we're just going to stick with just defense? Do you think we're going to draft a center and a guard, or it's just one of those? I don't know.
I'm excited about the draft. I am excited with the 11 picks, although most of those come after the 4th round. We lost a 3rd round pick, which is concerning. That compensatory pick that we thought was in the 3rd dropped to the middle of the 4th. But I think we can get that back with trading some of those later picks. I'm excited, Sean. There's a lot of holes to fill. We're gonna have to hit. This is a real test for Bean and the scouting team. There's definitely some great talent in the top 3 rounds. Now, of course, we lost the 3rd round again, so we're gonna have to move up. There's a lot of talent out there, and if we make the right moves, look, let's say we get a Byron Murphy or T'Vondre Sweat. All of a sudden, that defensive line is like, you're like, oh my goodness, watch out. We're gonna get a lot of heat pressure from the inside. Run stopping, not a concern anymore if you get one of those guys. Safety, we draft a safety in the 2nd or 3rd, and it's one of those top 4, top 5. All of a sudden, I'm just like, all right, let's go. And then I think we're good at linebacker. Of course, I think we're fine, especially with Milano coming back. Although I haven't heard anything yet. And then cornerback, I think we'll draft some depth in the final rounds. But I'm not too concerned, Sean. I think it's kind of clear. I hope. And again, I think based on what they've done right now by shoring up that wide receiver room, I still think they might take a wide receiver, but it's not going to be to a later round. So I'm okay, Sean. I'm still okay based on how things are shaping up.
Yeah, for me, my final thought on that is I hope the Bills stop going for project players early and save the project players for the back end of the round instead of getting guys like Rousseau that are or maybe Elam even, if you want to consider him a project, or guys with high ceilings and low floors. I don't think I just to Matt Chatter's point, that's just bad scouting. You should be able to get high ceiling, high floor type players in the 1st and 2nd round. And it seems like we're just getting guys that are good. We need great. We get a lot of
Yep.
good guys. We need a lot of great guys. And you know, I just don't want to. I don't want to reach for projects anymore. And again, Rousseau is only considered a project because didn't play much defensive end, and he had the frame and the athletic ability and the athletic prowess that everyone likes, but it hasn't translated yet. But I don't know. Again, quickly to wrap up, as you can see on the thing down there, the St. Patrick's Day show tomorrow at 9. Shout out to Big Stitch Embroidery. That's the new company that Jake's cousin, I believe.
Yeah, Jake's cousin
owns, and they're going to be giving away a $100 gift card, if I'm correct, on
Yep.
the show tomorrow. If you join the Discord.
Yep.
Is that right?
Discord, the description's in the the link is in the description of this video. It's free, 100% free. We just kind of want to build up the community. That's why we're doing this giveaway, because Trek Reviewers out there. He joined us last week. He's out there chatting it up with us in the Discord and other folks. So get into it. It's pretty simple. Just join it. You can get it on your phone, your laptop, your PC. Get in there. It's free. And then go to the thread that says Big Stitch giveaway. Say hi to us. You're in. Tomorrow it's going to be a fun show. Jake and we're going to have a special guest from the Bills bunker, Jake Varco. We're going to have 2 Jakes. It's going to be interesting, Sean. I don't know. I'm getting confused. Like
2 Jakes.
Yeah.
That's going to be a ton of Jake. If he's anything like the other Jake. But yeah, real quick, you know, if you guys are still here, head over to Go Bills Podcast, subscribe to his channel. He's going to be recovering for a couple weeks, and I think it'd make his day if you see a couple more subscribers come in. T-Jab, I totally agree with Sean. I really appreciate your great show tonight. It was awesome to see you. And again, show up tomorrow for Mike and Jake's show. It'll be a good time. And Mike, thanks for helping me out tonight. Shows are always fun, but it's always better with somebody. I could always talk alone, but it makes it better when, especially the co-founder or the founder, not even co-founder, comes out here and blesses my show with joining me, against his promise to his wife. So I appreciate that.
No worries, buddy. Anytime.
But again, just real quick before we wrap up, I know we went 15 minutes more than I expected to, but that's the beauty of it. I want to do an open panel show. A lot of my friends at the Finns Tailgate, I know they're Dolphins fans, but they're great dudes. They always do open panels with the fans and with the other creators on the channel, and it's always awesome. If you haven't checked them out, please go over there and subscribe. So I want to do that with our community, because I feel like there's not many open panels in the Bills community. Again, with other content creators, they're not going to really talk to us, I bet. But it'd be awesome to have you guys come up here. You don't got to be shy. You can come up like this. We want to hear your takes. You want to hear your opinion. So if next week on Saturday on our show, come on Mike's show tomorrow and let him know if you want to do the open panel next Saturday. You're more than welcome. We'll drop the link and we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. So again, Mike, if you got final thoughts, floor is yours.
No, I do want to wish Brett a quick recovery. And again, I second that. A great idea. Give him some love. Go over to his channel and subscribe. By the way, you don't even have to do that. If you go down on our homepage, you'll see these awesome channels, and you should subscribe to all of those channels. Brett's one of them. Go Bills Podcast. Sean over here, the Red, White, and Bills. Give him some love, because he takes time out of his week and does a show on our network, which we greatly appreciate. And again, we thank all of you. And it's, we got a lot going on here in the City Mafia. You got the AFC East Summit going off every Tuesday. You got a Buffalo Sabre show that goes off on Tuesday. Golf show's kind of out of pocket right now. I'm not sure when they'll be back. And of course, we have our Rush Hour every Wednesday and Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So a lot of stuff going on. Appreciate you guys. A lot of
good stuff over here. And again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Remember the open panel. I'd love to do it. I want to do it so bad. So need your guys' help. Truck Reviewer, you can come talk about Cam. We can talk about UFL. Do anything we want. So we'd love to have you guys in. Go Bills, and appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow.
Happy St. Patty's Day. I hope everyone has a fantastic. Everyone's Irish tomorrow. Come on now. Have some fun.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Take care.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.